Hello, rest seekers. I'm Peggy Norwood Stella here this morning to offer you a few gentle, easy moves. This time, exploring core stability. We often think of trying to improve our core strength. And what I want to do is instead of rather than the strong core, let's think of what it is that we really need, which is a stable core. The stability that we have means we're able to find the right alignment between the segments of the body, and we are able to move as well as hold steady those segments in relationship to each other. When we just focus on strength, for example, someone says, oh, I have low back pain, I really need to work my abs. I really need to strengthen my abs. But instead it's like, no, you have the low back pain quite possibly because you've got some motion or lack of stability in that low back region as a result of not being aware enough of your core. It's often not so much a matter of not being strong enough, but it's the need to raise your awareness of the control you have over alignment, and also for you to begin to use that to stabilize those segments, right, in relationship to each other. So that's what we're going to be exploring this morning. I'm going to take a move that's very often practiced for core strength. I'm going to call it for core stability, but the move is called dead bug, and if you've heard of it, it's more like lying on your back with the arms and legs actually moving in the air, almost like crawl, like imagine you're crawling on the ceiling. I often laugh because I'm like, why do they call it dead bug? Because the arms and legs are still moving. They might want to call it dying bug instead, but that goes without saying. So let's come down. We're down on the floor today, and as I suggested or have before, when we're on the floor, you may want to have a yoga mat underneath you. You may want to also have a blanket that you can fold. I can use that for a pillow, and also to have a towel that you can use as a prop or a tie, or just have that available. That may come in handy as well. So working on the floor and talking about core stability, I'm going to move down to the floor. Remember, I always go to you go to a mermaid, like a mermaid sit, and then down to the floor. You can just rest on your side so I can talk to you from here. If you are unable to get up and down from the floor, you can do this on the surface, like on the bed, if you can do it on the bed. However, the problem might be that the bed is not going to offer the stability or the surface underneath you that you need to feel the motion through the body. So that's one of the nice things about the yoga mat, even though you're kind of like against a firm floor, is that you're able to sort of feel the force of, feel the gravity, feel the force underneath you, feel how it is you're relating to the floor. Starting, I'm going to now I'm going to just move over onto my back and just spend a moment, and I've got my blanket just underneath the head. Now let me talk about this alignment one more time, because often I will see people say that, not understanding. We want the head to be in alignment. I actually can be in alignment without this, but I'm using it as an example. But
if you are lying on your back and you find that the chin is here, or that the head is dropped back, because quite often, if your shoulders, for example, are just normally rotated forward, you're under a lot of tension, you may find that that's going to throw you forward off of the floor this way, and then for your head to rest on the floor, it drops back. So I want you to use the little bit of a folded blanket so that you can feel that you've got that alignment of the head so that the head is not tilted back. And it's just really important to do that in general whenever you're doing any kind of movement on the floor, especially in this supine position. So now, lying on your back, your knees are going to be bent, your feet are flat on the floor, shoulder blades are in contact with the floor, and you can place your arms wherever you want. That makes where it's comfortable. That can be out to the side. I tend to like just putting the fingertips right around the rib cage and letting them rest there, but wherever is comfortable. In this position, I just want you to spend a few moments exploring your relationship to the floor and feeling where you've got the contact with the floor, where that contact may be heavier, light, or lighter, or I'm like, for example, I'm really being drawn to the area around my tailbone right now. I'm feeling that very strongly into the floor, probably more than anywhere else. If there's anywhere else, it's a little bit in my upper back. So just kind of feel where you are in relationship to the floor. Again, there's no right or wrong here. And take a nice deep inhale. And when you inhale, I want you to feel how the air fills the lungs. So just inhale and feel it all the way through the diaphragm. And realize when you do that the belly actually starts to rise a little bit, but you also get expansion through the side rib cage and into the back rib cage. So that when you inhale, I want you to expand the lungs all the way around, right? 360 degrees of expansion. And then exhale very gently and allow it to relax. And even with just one breath, see if you've shifted anything in relationship to the floor. Have there been any changes there? And just sit with that for a moment. Take in another nice deep breath. Expanding when you breathe in, that's it can be a slow count of 4, but whatever it is, allow the rib cage to expand in all directions. And when you exhale, it says just think if the belly begins to soften, the rib cage begins to collapse inward just a little bit, and feel some relaxation in the body when that happens, okay? So this is where we're just, for starters, is checking in where we are to begin this exercise. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the arms. I would like you to lift the arms towards the ceiling. And as if you're just reaching the fingertips upwards towards the ceiling, extend the arms up. Now continue to reach towards the ceiling, keeping the head down, but reaching towards the ceiling so that the shoulder girdle now lifts off of the floor. The shoulder blades are lifting off of the floor, and they follow the path of the arms as it reaches upward. Reach it up, 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 up. And now reverse that. Allow the shoulder blades now to slide up underneath you and then sink into the floor. Sink them into the floor. and let them just settle right there. Good. Bring those elbows down and rest the fingertips on the rib cage. One small, gentle, easy move, bringing your attention into the upper body. For the next move, let's now lift up, clasp the fingers together. Now this is a little like our push, pull, pray, and surrender that we do standing. We're now going to do it lying down, clasping the fingers together. Extend the knuckles upwards towards the ceiling. Allow the shoulder blades to lift away from the floor. Now, for those for those that feel that the head is wanting to follow, it's okay. If you want to just lift the head a little bit, that's okay. But I'm just going to leave it right where it is and let just the shoulder girdle lift, lift, lift away from the floor, lengthen, lengthen, lengthen through the arms. And what we'll also feel is that as you're doing this, I want you to see if you've also had a reaction in the abdominals to that motion. That as that goes up, are you also beginning to engage here? And lift. As I can get, if I think of drawing the belly button towards the floor, I actually can get a little bit further with the arms. There's that relationship and connection. All right. And now let's reverse this. So we're going to bring the shoulder blades, slide them like you're going to slide them up underneath the body. And then you're going to press the shoulder blades into the floor and draw the hands down towards the body as far as you can. When it can't go any further, you're going to bend the elbows, unlock the hands, and place the elbows and back of the arm on the floor. From here, we're going to rotate the upper arm in the shoulder joint, opening the palms of the hands towards the ceiling, and imagining that you can draw a crease down your backbone by simply squeezing the shoulder blades together, imagining that you are touching the elbows behind your back. That's your imagination. Now notice in this particular move that as you've engaged in the back, you have also perhaps felt the rib cage rotate forward and open, what I call opening front ribs. You may have found that the rib cage has come forward and slightly open, which means that back ribs way here may have lifted from the floor as you imagine you're touching your elbows. That's okay. So now we want to do an exhale, right? Exhale and allow the back ribs to come back, right? Back ribs to contact the floor, front ribs to close. And you will feel it starts that rotation in the arms again. Connection, connection. And allow that just to be. Now, settle right where you are, settle. And feel that any differences, particularly in the upper body in relationship to the floor. Any differences in pressure. Any differences in the openness of the chest, whatever that might be for you. Again, this is exploration for you. I'm making suggestions that may or may not be what you're feeling in your body. We're just having a conversation right now. One of the beauties of these gentle, easy moves is that we're not forcing anything. We're more more like asking the body, can you do this? Let's try this. And seeing what kind of feedback we're getting in response. So next, what I would like for us to do is to clasp the hands together again. Reach up towards, like extend it up towards the ceiling, but leave the shoulder blades in contact with the floor. And now you begin to allow the arms to go overhead. And I want you to feel as the arms reach over the head, I want you to notice what happens in the rib cage. As the arms go overhead, what's happening in the rib cage? Is the rib cage, are the ribs, right? Is the rib cage following the trajectory of the arms? And then and now bring it back. Exhale. Bring the back ribs in contact with the floor. Close front ribs and see if that begins the arms traveling back. Now, let's play with that a little bit. I want you to send the arms up like they're going overhead. This is like chopping wood lying down. You're going to send the arms up over the head and allow the rib cage to follow. Allow the rib cage to follow, so you'll feel the difference, how the back ribs have lifted somewhat away from the floor. Front ribs are forward and open. And then to return, exhale, close front ribs, bring back ribs into contact with the floor very gently, bring the arms back up overhead. Now we are exploring the arm and rib cage connection here. And we'll go ahead and try it again. And lift it up, let the rib cage follow. Good, feel it. And now when you exhale and return, begin in the core. Begin by closing front ribs. And sliding the shoulder blades back up underneath you. Come right back here into neutral. Elbows to the floor, unclasp the fingers, let it go, and just sense where you are at the moment. Very good. Now I want us to turn the attention for just a moment now to more of the hip and leg connection. And we're going to, one leg at the time, we're going to lift the toes from the floor and flex the foot. So it's just with one leg now, just with your one leg. I would like for you to lift the toes and ball of the foot from the floor and rest on that heel. Rest the weight of leg on that heel, and now simply lift that heel from the floor and feel what happens in the hips. Put that heel back down and let it all settle. Put toes back down, let it all settle. Let's go to the other side. And we're going to flex the foot, simply resting the heel on the floor. And we're going to lift that heel just a few inches away from the floor. And I want you to feel what happens in the hips as that leg lifts. Just feel that, be aware of it. And now put the heel back down and feel the settling in the hips. And put the foot right back down. So what's happening is when we lift that heel, and we're actually accommodating that, you'll feel in the pelvis will drop to that side. We'll often drop to that side to accommodate that move. And it can be very exaggerated. It's just notice that just naturally is going to happen when you put the heel back down, let the hips settle back down. So you're going to feel that when one leg lifts, you're going to feel more the gravity. You're going to feel the pressure on one side. Then when you put it back down, it stabilizes, right? Stabilizes. And now when we lift on the other side, you're going to feel that accommodation. And if you're not feeling it, totally okay. That sometimes you're not even aware of that accommodation until we put the heel back down and rest, and then you feel it settle back into that position. So we can play around that relationship as you flex the foot and lift that heel. And then I want you to play with, can you lift the heel and put the heel back down without that huge settling in between? Are you able to be aware enough in your core that you can actually lift that leg and maintain stability in the pelvis, so there's not that settling back and forth? So play with that just a little bit and see if you are able to engage just enough to maintain that stability side by side, from one hip to the other, as you do these alternating leg lifts. And this may require a fairly high level of awareness to do this, but what you're going to find is that if you can begin to stabilize, right, to stabilize here between the rib cage and the hips, right, and then moving the leg independently requires a good bit of core awareness and stability as I alternate back and forth. So there's a move that you can play with again. Again, I'm going to remind you that these gentle, easy moves are not a workout. They're a play in. We are not working out the body. We are playing in the body. We're doing a gentle ask. Can I alternate? Are we able to alternate back and forth, making the goal of this as much stillness in the upper body as we can possibly find. Up and down, very good. So this is a preliminary exploration of the connection, right, of arms and rib cage and legs and pelvis. We've got that connection that we can explore, but in order to offer the stability, we have to maintain the connection between, right, the pelvis and keeping it steady, and the rib cage and keeping it steady, in order to move the arms and legs independently. So the move that I sort of took apart just a little bit was called the dead bug. It's often done with arms, right, and legs off the, right, from this position, arms and legs off of the floor. You would have, right, the legs, rather than completely dead position, you've got like almost like you're sitting in a chair, right, and the arms are this way. And we're going to move, first we're going to start, I'm going to move one side, the arms and legs are going to move away from center, and then we're going to bring it back. Exhale, bring it back. Then the other side, the arm and the leg move away from center. Exhale, and bring it back. Now, if we really exaggerate this, if you go very slowly, you're going to feel how the rib cage wants to follow the arm, the pelvis wants to follow, right? The hip wants to follow the leg. And when we exhale, we bring the rib cage back into neutral. We bring the pelvis back into alignment and bring everything back. And we can explore this side to side. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. So this is very slow motion, feeling how you're going to move the arm and leg away from center. We keeping the core stable, feeling, getting high level awareness in there. Exhale, bring it back. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. And I bet as you're doing this, you're becoming highly aware of how engaged you are in the abdominals. So this is building core stability and also building your awareness of how the movement of the arms and the legs impact your alignment. But feeling that connection throughout. I'm going to bring it to a resting position. And if you want to, you can just hug the knees in just a little bit. Roll it around a little bit. Very good. And you can play around with dead bugs. I'm going to just move back up to a seated position. You can certainly stay right there where you are because you may want to play around with this some more. But I just hope that you spend a little time exploring that connection for yourself. As I said, these gentle, easy moves are really meant to bring us into a much higher level of awareness of where we are in our bodies as we play in our bodies. That we're not trying to necessarily make ourselves stronger, even though that's exactly what happens. But what we're trying to do isn't to increase our brute strength. We become stronger the more aware we become of all those connections in the body, how things work together, and it really does greatly improve our chances of preventing injury. That's more than anything. If I can say what my mantra has always been with the thousands of bodies that I've helped train in over the course of my career, number one, how can I keep someone injury free? Because that's the greater likelihood that they can continue to move, because once the injury hits, it's a lot more difficult, right, to maintain a program. So number one, how do we minimize the risk of injury? And it always comes back to keeping ourselves highly aware of where we are in our bodies and learning the connections and learning how we can actually begin to have some control over where the body is in space. So it's not necessarily making our bodies match up to something that we see in front of us. It's not this gentle easy moves are not like watch the instructor and mimic what the instructor is doing. That's the last thing I want you to do. I want you to participate with me in exploring these gentle, easy moves. I'm learning myself every single time I go through these. And when I'm verbalizing as I'm moving, I'm expressing what I'm feeling in my body, but it might not necessarily be what you're feeling in your body. So that's why I'm going to encourage you to please spend a little time with these moves on your own. See what it's feeling like for you as you are practicing this core stability, as you're approaching this particular exercise from a new perspective.
See what it's feeling like for you after you've made this exploration. And be sure to leave some comments in this section, whether you've caught it live or whether you're checking out the replay, as to what are you discovering? Have you made some discoveries by doing dead bugs from a totally different perspective? I'm glad you joined in with me today for some gentle, easy moves on Monday. And I'll be seeing you again really soon.